There are so many couples in Korea. I mean, a lot of couples. And you know, this is one of those type of phenomena that left me split down the middle of being surprised and not so surprised at all. Before coming to Korea, I was exposed to two points of views when it came to relationships between men and women in the country. The first exposure I had was through entertainment media. I'm not gonna hold you, I loves me a good romance K-drama. They're often catered towards the female gaze, and let me tell you, I'm gonna eat it up every time. In a romance K-drama, you often have a female lead courted by a handsome male lead who showers the main character with sweet affection and passion, and 99.99% of the time, he's rich. Although you must take things in media with a grain of salt, they do display some truths in our society. But of course, some people forget the grain of salt, especially when viewing a culture they aren't intimately familiar with, and take things very literally. This leads to a group of real women who think that every interaction with Korean men will be a magical K-drama experience. Me personally, although I love dousing myself in fantasy, I like to keep my feet grounded in reality. This leads me to my second exposure to men and women relationships in Korea. For every woman lost in a K-drama fantasy, I'd see real Korean women speaking out about their victimization in a patriarchal society. I see Korean women warning other women about the games and shortcomings of some of their men. They'd share personal anecdotes of their traumatic experiences, an experience very different from a romance K-drama. I also heard about the 4B movement, a movement in which women refrain from marriage, dating, childbirth, and sex with men in protest to the oppression of women caused by patriarchy and misogyny in Korean culture. If you actually saw my fertility decline video in Korea, this is actually one factor to that decline. This was what I knew about relationship culture in Korea before reaching the country. I thought to myself, maybe part of romance K-dramas are propaganda to combat the effects of the 4B movement and push the traditional nuclear family. Even with all this said, knowing what I knew about Korean collective culture and the nature of women and people in general, I knew to myself I wasn't about to walk into a country with majority women standing on 4B business. I really didn't have any expectations swinging towards one side or the other, but boy was I slightly surprised when I saw those societal truths and romance K-dramas were what appeared to be truthing very hard. The girlies were giving very much.
Like, I'm so done with him. I'm just done. It's too much. I'm through.
As soon as I landed in Korea and got close enough to the city to start seeing people, I started seeing many couples. I feel like everywhere I turned my head where I went, there was a couple nearby. And I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, this even had me questioning my relationship status. Like, damn bitch, why aren't you single? But you know, the more time I spent in the country, the more I observed its culture, I started to notice things and began questioning the quality and inner workings of these relationships and all these couples that I was seeing. Like I mentioned earlier, Korea has a collective culture. People follow the flow of the majority. Alongside this, Korea is a country that caters towards groups and couples. There are clubs that won't let you in if you're alone, restaurants that won't seat you if you're alone, and some dishes that you can't order any smaller than a couple's portion. And even when there aren't explicit rules saying, hey, you can't be alone, in a collective culture, I can imagine that there are similar unwritten rules that govern society. So in a culture where it's easy to become isolated, and that isolation being able to hinder the things that you would want to do or enjoy, I can understand people gravitating towards a partner, whether they truly want to or not, in order to function as what would be considered normal in society. This idea all came to a head for me when I visited Starfield Library. When I was at a cafe in the library, I noticed a couple sitting to the left of me. The whole time they were there, they seemed so disconnected from each other. They were on their phones and didn't say a word to each other until they decided that they were ready to go. I wondered to myself if perhaps those individuals might have wanted to enjoy their own alone time at those cafes, but may have felt nervous and just opted to go together to fit in. On the other hand, I saw another couple less than 50 feet away. This couple were really enjoying each other's company. They were actively present in front of each other. After witnessing these two couples, I wondered, of all the couples I came across in the country, what was love and what was an attempt to adapt to the norm and be able to live well in their society? But you know, what I observed in the country isn't an anomaly specific to Korea. I think due to being a country whose economic and technological growth outpaced its societal development, Korea tends to show a more hyperbolized, more apparent representation of plights many people are dealing with in other cultures and countries.